to me. How we feeling, family? How we feeling? How we feeling? Drop some dollar signs in the chat if you ready to get some money this week, man. I don't know about y'all. I'm ready to get some money this week. Last week we did numbers. We're gonna keep it going, right? We're gonna keep it going, man. We're gonna keep it going. Feel free to blast this link out. Go into the Discord, say OTC, drop a OTC in the Discord. Let's make sure we got everybody locked in this morning. This morning, I'm tripping, my fault. This afternoon, this evening. Definitely appreciate y'all. Look, I know, it's football season, and football season is officially back. This evening call, I know some of y'all like, ooh, I don't know, but we definitely got to get it in, man. Like I said, I won't be long, but I'll be strong. Gotta just get everything in motion, right? Sunday is a day which you set the foundation for what it is you want to do and achieve for the week. All right. So that's why we gotta come on here and we gotta get right. So that way there ain't no surprises this week, right? And the market come with enough surprises. So if we can try to get ourselves in front of them, we can definitely execute a little better. And my key word for the week, right, is just gonna be execution, guys. You know how many times I see monster moves and moves that would have made me thousands of dollars, and I may have, hesitated on the execution. I may have closed a little too early. I may have did this, may have did that. And I just want y'all to know it happens to me too, right? I'm not exempt from it. Nobody on this call is exempt from it. It's something that we all deal with on a daily basis. And this is why we got to be accountable to ourselves and accountable to trying to get better by 1% every single day, right? And that's just what trading is. It's the ultimate test of discipline and accountability. I say it all the time. You can't talk yourself out of a bad trade or into a good trade. You can't use your good looks or your charm, your charisma, none of that good stuff. You can't do nothing when it comes to trading, but follow your plan and be disciplined, right? So, again, there's times where we got to really do that internal work. We got to look in the mirror. We got to really see where it is that we can improve, where it is that we can get better. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, myself personally, again, I'm focused on execution this week. It ain't even a technical thing. It's more of just trusting the technicals, trusting the process. It's like, it's funny because all this stuff sounds cliche, but as you guys start to reach new heights and new levels, you're going to realize that the same issues reemerge and they reappear because, at the same time, is a trade, but different lot sizes come with different emotions, right? So you might think that you have one thing, handled in terms of your patience or in terms of your execution. And then when you want to take things to the next level, you realize the problems that you overcame in the past start to re-arise or they start to reappear. And then you got to overcome them again and again and again for every new level that you're trying to go to. So for me, on my mission of, making, 10, 15, $20,000 weekly, it's like, okay, these numbers, they get bigger and bigger. The stress comes bigger and bigger. And then you got to rely on your discipline that much more, right? Now, I'm really grateful for the week I had last week, but it ain't just one thing to do at once. We got to keep it going, right? So with that being said, again, just holding myself to a higher standard. And, I'm going to lead by example in terms of what it's going to take for us to all, do what's necessary, right? Now, with that being said, like I said, I don't like being long on these calls. I want us to, y'all be able to go back and rewatch it and stuff like that. So I ain't even going to waste too much time. We're going to get straight into the technicals, right? Now, with Nas 100, what happened last Friday? Huge bullish move, right? Huge bullish move. And the whole thing about it is, we were somewhat aware that this could happen when the market had first peaked down here. Because I ain't gonna lie, I was kind of beating myself up because on Thursday, I want to say it was, we tried to take some buys in here, ended up getting out. Saw some buys down here, but I really didn't execute, like I said, the way I wanted to, right? And, I saw it, but then it was more like, okay, you already took a loss publicly. Do you want to take this trade because it's a good setup, or are you revenge trading? And I let myself get in my own head, right? And I ended up not executing on a trade that I knew was going to push up. And that was a missed opportunity, right? Or what was this? Wednesday, actually. Right. So Wednesday had a missed opportunity. Um, Let me see what we did on Thursday. Okay, yeah, I remember this one from Thursday. Caught a little sell here, but then I wanted it to push a little higher for us to get in on our trade. And then after we ended up getting off the call, that entry ended up presenting itself. So it was just kind of weird all week. And then Friday ended up catching this one, right here. Now, this move right here, I feel like is very important just because I feel like this is gonna be the catalyst for a lot of things to come, right? There's talks that I didn't listen to the full speech from Jerome Powell, anything like that, but I did get pretty much the summary of it all, and it looks like we're easing towards rate cuts, right? For September. All right. Now, as rates cut, a couple things gonna happen. They're gonna turn on the money printer, right? And all of these assets and stocks and crypto, gold, silver, this stuff should fly through the roof, right? So I feel like the market was going bearish, getting a better position, right? And you buy the rumor, you sell the news, right? The reason why the move happened early was because this is a forecast of what's to come, right? So you see what's happening here. The market presented this strong low. As it gave us the strong low, it crosses over to the upside. A couple small hesitation candles in the process of the crossover. The market retraced to take out little hesitation candles, refill this little area imbalance, and then it absolutely took off. Me being an idiot, execution once again. I end up closing my trade right after we broke above these highs. I ended up closing my trade like right here. I was like, man, it's Friday. I'm gonna just take my bag and I'm gonna be happy. And then this thing like doubled in price. Like the move was like double what it could have been. So it's just one of them things, man. Execution, execution, execution. I'm gonna say it a million times this week. Because again, I fall victim to the same things all of us do. I just may be executing at a slightly higher level than others, but we all still deal with the same stuff, right? No reason for me to close that trade early like I did. But again, it was Friday, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want no surprises, so I'm gonna just go ahead and close out around here. And but now, like, what is it that we could see continuing to happen? Again, with rate cuts looming around the corner, I could see a retracement and then a higher low being created, right? I believe we're gonna get a higher low somewhere in here, right? So the market's gonna find a way to drop, and you realize we already consolidating right here, right? We already putting in weak lows. We already created a weak high up here. That's pretty evident if we take a look at that high. So we got weak lows, we got a weak high, and we got an impulsive move to the upside, right? So this is simple, guys. This is simple. Just go with the overall momentum of the market, especially on indices. When it comes to indices, you don't have to do too much thinking. The market is bullish, right? You're creating a range, okay? You're creating a range. You got internal liquidity resting over here, and you got this range liquidity resting here. Once we take out both of these levels, right, we should be start looking for a continuation to the upside to go grab the weak highs that's already been created. So we got a weak high, we got a little piece of internal liquidity right here, and then we got our range liquidity that's building up right here, right? So all I'm seeing is something like this. And then as we push back down, maybe we hit, this sell to buy candle. If we lucky, hopefully we hit the sell to buy candle. We may just, tap into this area right here and then go bullish. Timing is a big thing. Want to time it perfectly as well. Hopefully this happens around, New York session, just so that way we can, feel confident about our positioning. And again, we come and grab these lows that has been, forming in this consolidation after that big bullish push. I'm looking for this low to go, and anything in within this area is fair game. All right. It's just about really reacting to it while it's happening. Because it's one thing to try to, predetermine where it's going to react. But when you're able to trade live, you can, take the trade as it's happening. And that allows me to have tighter stop losses, right? So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you can't predetermine where it's going to hit, but, let's say, for example, you want to take it at the 50%, which a lot of people do, right? Let's say you take 50% of this imbalance. Now you got to put your stop beneath this low. And let's say if you targeting this high, your risk to reward ain't that great. You just under 1 to 2, really. So you're at like 1.8 risk to reward. So for some people that's good. That's not good for me, right? Instead of just giving you all this setup, I say, time it perfectly. So that way, when you get in, you can have a stop loss more like this, right? I want to take it as it's happening, right? And this is why I don't, like I said, predetermine my levels or my areas of interest. I might have an area of interest, but I'm not going to, predetermine the exact point in which I'm going to get in until I see what's going on. If I see the market going sideways, ranging like this, and then I see it, dip down like that. All right, boom, I'm gonna take a jab at this. And hopefully the reaction holds up and then it goes to the upside. And when I time it, now that allows me to get entries like this, right? With tight stops, you're getting 1 to 10 risk to reward and stuff like that. So just that little attention to detail can take you from a 1 to 2 to a 1 to 10. And that's how you 5x your returns, right? So just point that out. You know what I mean? Just that little extra attention to detail is one thing that is going to be real beneficial. But long story short, just from a weekly outlook perspective, I'm expecting the market to push down, like I explained. Take out these levels here, and once we do, I'm gonna be eyeballing this area for some sort of reversal pattern, whether it's a consolidation and a manipulation to catch the ace, or if we get a hezzy crossover, so be it. We take the hezzy crossover, all right? So whichever one presents itself, that's what we're gonna roll with, all right? Let's take a look at GU, all right? All right, so obviously GU, had a nice bullish push as well. And here's one thing I want y'all to notice, right? It's real simple, guys. Real simple. You only need a couple lines on your chart. You don't need a whole lot to confuse you, right? Let's really look at what's going on right here, right? The market starts ranging around noon time, right? So it ranges all day. It ranges going into Asia session. It ranges going into midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. time, right? This is textbook. This is what you want to see, right? You got your Asia range consolidating, even though it started to consolidate a little bit before Asia range. It's just it's ranging. That's the thing you need to pay attention to. The market is consolidating, and you got 3 phases of the market, right? You got the consolidation phase, you got the manipulation phase, then you got the continuation phase, right? And if you just look back at history, you see this happening, right? Consolidation, got a little manipulation here, and then the market continues up, right? It don't go up forever, but even if you caught it right here, even if you're just targeting right here, with a tight stop loss executing on the 1 minute like we typically do, this is a good trade, right? And it's only a couple hours long. Or if you're looking at the range like this, Asia range, we clear this high. Now we take the market lower, right? Or even here, Asia range, clear the high, take it lower. Asia range, clear the high, take it lower. So again, this ain't something that just happens perfectly every single day, right? You still got to take, structure into consideration. You still got to take liquidity into consideration. Where are your targets? Where's your weak highs? Where's your weak lows? There's all the things you want to pay attention to, but this is a good foundation just to have, right? So we see how the market is consolidating right here. Then it pushes down, right? But it doesn't just push down to take out these lows here, right? If we look to the left, it's also something else over here. We got another low over here. And this is what? Previous week's low, right? Today is the 24th. So yeah, that would have been the low from nearly 2 weeks ago at this point, right? So when it happened, it was like a week and a half ago. So let's just say previous week's low was right here. And y'all know I like to see two levels get swept, right? So this is my first, little area of lows that got taken out. This is my second one right here, right? We take out multiple lows, all right? Little imbalance over there if you want to count that. But primarily, the only thing I'm really paying attention to is the fact we cleared out two lows. After clearing out two lows, boom, you see the market has a beautiful reaction to the upside. So now what do I see happening? I just see this continuing, right? Yeah, we took out, some of these weak highs, but we still got more, right? We still got more targets to the upside. We still got this over here. Still got this trap over here, right? So realistically, I feel like that's a target right there. And truth be told, I don't think that that's going to like drop the market significantly or nothing, especially with how the market is pushing up right now, right? It's pushing up aggressively. So even though the red line might be a target, like I'm not looking for a sell. Obviously, I had the trap right here, but that was, before we got this huge sell off, right? So I wanted this zone to get hit and then give me this sell off. But considering that it gave me the sell off first, I'm not really looking for a trap right here, to be quite honest. Like, I guess you can call it a trap in terms of I'm not looking for a sell right here. But truth be told, we're probably gonna hit this level. If anything, we might just take some profit, drop a little bit, but I do think the market will keep continuing to the upside overall, right? So long story short, I'm looking at, you know, 135.95, 1.3595. All right, 1.3595. Let's look for this market to retrace to start the week. Okay. We're looking at retracements to start the week. Got a large area imbalance that we probably need to fill in. All right, so let's look at the market to start bearish. And then, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's Tuesday, whether it's Wednesday, whenever, the market's going to find a time and a place to where it wants to reverse. All right. Same thing with EU, right? A lot of the pairs did the same move. A lot of pairs did the same move, right? This was a zone that I had marked out previously. And it's ironically enough, the market, came and hit that level perfectly. Then it started retracing, right? So now what it is that I see is, again, same thing. Market's going to start retracing to start the week, right? I do see us probably making a higher low somewhere in here, but I'm not against the possibility of the market literally just, taking this low out, right? Right, taking this low out, coming to grab these weak lows right here, finding a higher low down here and then going up, right? That's a possibility too, right? So I'm gonna keep both of those moves on my radar, and even looking at EU, I'm gonna take a second look at GU to see if I see anything similar. And I guess you could say, there's another target down here potentially. And we just gotta see. We just gotta see, right? We're gonna react in the time, we're gonna react in a moment, right? Again, higher low potential, but we could return there. Maybe this is a false move, right? False move to draw in early buyers. And if we do end up going bearish this week, this will probably be where we really do get that, real move that sends the market bullish for a while. All right. So keep your options open, right? And again, you're allowed to take a loss, so it's not like this is the end all be all, like, it's okay. We're gonna explore the options that the market gives us. And if we gotta readjust, then so be it. Right. Um gold. Okay. And I'm not really a huge fan when the market makes these like super, impulsive, dramatic moves, because you got to get a market time to kind of reset itself a little bit, right? So anytime you see the market make a huge, huge, huge move, the beginning, especially the end of the week, usually the beginning of that following week is a little up and down, right? It's like You might have some moves, and then you might have to just wait until you're confident in what's about to happen next, right? So when it comes to gold, I'm gonna be honest, gold is too volatile to be trading it in the middle of no man's land, right? It's too high for me to buy, right? I'm not gonna buy it from up here because we got all of this space beneath it, but I also don't really feel comfortable selling right here because it has pushed up so hard and aggressive. If it does sell, maybe I want to see it, just kind of consolidate a little more, maybe clear out this first high, right? Because it's rarely the first high that creates the sell. The first high really creates the early sellers, and then they'll come and take that high out to get the early sellers out, and then maybe we can get some bearishness this week, right? So in order for me to sell, I probably have to go recapture 33, 78 if I was interested in selling, like push above it. So realistically, like 33.79 or just 33.80. That's an easy number to remember. I say we gotta touch at least 33.80 to really get some realistic sales. Because again, I never really trust that first rejection, right? So keep your eyes on that. We could get this type of price action for this week. And again, we may just trickle down going into September. And then once it's time for rate cuts, then the market takes off like we expected to. All right. This happens a lot, y'all. This happens a lot. I remember even Nas, I want to say, I want to say it's CPI. It was something. I forgot. Uh, where was that movie? Right. So again, I always go back to this one because it's a good example. I want to say this was CPI, if I'm not mistaken. All right, CPI gave us the drop for news. Then the market reacted and went bullish. This was after the news, right? Market shot to the moon, went bullish. And then after that, it actually, the biggest move was this sell, right? You would have thought that the market was just going to go in one direction, but it started bearish, had a big bullish push, and then even a bigger bearish leg. So I say all that to say this, right? Even though we had some fireworks, to end the week last week, don't be surprised if that's not the final move, right? Or the bigger move. Like this might just be the warm up, right? This market could end up going bearish, right? And then returning bullish later on once this move is actually taken out. So that's not uncommon at all, especially when it comes to these, big moves. All right. So just keep your eyes open for that. Let's take a quick peek at crypto, guys. Crypto markets. Um, well, we just take a look at this. Um, y'all go and take a look at the weekly outlook from last week. I told you guys this level, 112, 113. It's crazy how accurate that was because the market was like still up here at the time. I think it was like, let me see. So yeah, it was the 17th, right? The 17th, I mentioned these lows getting taken out. Okay. So that was still like it doesn't look like it's that much. I get it, but that's still another, 5%, which is a lot in the crypto market, especially with coin like Bitcoin, the drop from 118 to, 112, 110 region. That's a lot, right? $8,000 drop still. So now that we have came and cleared these lows out, we had this low. And again, this goes back to the concept of what it was I was just talking about on Nas, right? You get the big move and you think that this is the move that's, going to send the market higher. And the market sometimes it'll just slowly erase that entire move, right? Now that it came and recaptured that move, because you got to think of how many people And I get it, like crypto isn't necessarily exactly like the Forex market or the indices market, but same concept applies, right? This big candle had a lot of buyers in it. And it's a lot of people that probably started chasing the buys right after that happened. The market slowly erased that move, cleared those lows out. Now, what's the chances of this happening? A lot higher now, because now you got a strong low pattern. Okay. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this, be a low that sends the market higher. I would look for personally at this point, I'd look for, higher prices. I'd look for a bullish week in crypto for sure, right? I do think that we can get a nice bullish week in crypto. If we are to get a sale, it'll be one more, right? If we are to get a sale, maybe we get one more sale. But ultimately, this region here, I do believe is going to be a turnaround point for crypto. I don't think we're going to go much lower than that. See what XRP and stuff has in store. I could definitely see XRP making its push. Internet computer, very low risk, high reward though. High reward. Look at old all-time highs. We're talking about a coin that was that's pretty damn high.
That
Maybe,
joint
I
was
don't know
seven
if it
fifty.
gets that high, but internet computers, I like that one as a part of the ISOs. Uh, Oil, I don't really trade, so I'm not going to go over it just for the sake of this call. I don't really trade oil. Ethereum, all-time highs. So congrats to all the Ethereum holders. I don't see it really dropping much. We might have a lot of people taking profit just out of fear, but I'm expecting Ethereum to keep pushing. I could see Ethereum crossing 6,500, 7,000 by, late fall for real, for real. So I'm expecting this to keep pushing. Ethereum has been probably one of the top performers since this, beginning of summer, like springtime. I mean, we're talking 240% just since April. So, all the Ethereum holders, huge congrats there. Those are some insane numbers for sure. What's so crazy is I had somebody, shout out to Elijah. I know he bought this on his, not even just, on from a crypto wallet. He actually bought this as like a trade setup on like on his personal trading accounts. And I know he is up a nice bag, but I think he hopped out. If he was still in that trade, he'd probably be up crazy. But Stella Loomis, another ISO. Bullish guys, bullish, bullish. Don't overthink this. Definitely got this pumping. Has similar utility to XRP. Um, so this is another one that's gonna push as XRP continues to push. I could see, Stella Lumen is doing the same. Solana. Hopefully you guys are in Solana. I've been in Solana for quite a while. I buy a coin or so every week at this point. I could see Solana pushing towards 400 to end the year. And that's still a lot. Like I said, because again, if rate hikes are to happen, I know it seems like a lot. You're talking, $200 just in the next few months. But again, if the rate hikes come in, and they turn on the printers, right? They turn on the money printers. You got to anticipate these assets are going to fly, right? So this happens every year. I don't know if I had any students from the year before. Every year around fall, they start cutting interest rates. And it's crazy because over the years I've been trading, I've been starting to identify this pattern. Every year around fall, they start, cutting interest rates, regardless of who's in office, to be quite honest. Like it's been like this literally for the past 3, 4 years. Like every fall, they cut interest rates down a little bit, right? So I don't know if it's to stimulate the economy. I don't know if it's just because, that's where a lot of corporations are selling stuff, whether it be holiday season, Christmas. I don't know if they want to produce, you know, optimism in the markets for spending. I don't know why they do it, but literally, go look at the numbers for yourself. Every year, whether it be September, October time, like around those times, they always cut the rates every single year. So I expect the same thing to happen this time. And again, we're gonna be prepared for it and ready to execute. All right. So let's just get in position, get ready, stack up your cash and get ready to buy some of these different assets. And when I say get ready, I mean do so now, especially if you're in position. Even if you're not perfectly insert into the market, like on the crypto, for example, the market should make new highs and you'll get your return regardless. All right. I'm gonna do a quick scan some of these other currencies, see if anything stands out to me. But if not, we'll go ahead and end the call just so you guys can go on about the rest of y'all day. All right. Um,
Hey Ray, after you do a couple more pairs, I did have a question at the end.
okay, got you. About trade management, here to talk about that because I feel like it's overlooked. So far as trade management, um, I mean trade management, there's some things that should be universal, and then there's others that are kind of like then there's some other elements of trade management that are subjective, right? The things that I'm making universal are partialing out at 1 to 3, right? And if y'all know me, that's not what I typically partial out at. I'm usually a 1 to 5 at least. One thing I'm doing moving forward, partialing out at 1 to 3, letting the rest run. And because it's not hard for me to get a 1 to 5 or a 1 to 10, but sometimes the trade goes my way and then it reverses. So me being a lower time frame trader and me playing off of reactions, I feel like it's very easy for me to secure a 1 to 3. But then, I might be 50-50 or even less on the market reaching 1 to 10. So, the fact that I feel like I can get a 1 to 3 damn near every time I push the button versus a 1 to 10, then I'm gonna secure a bag and let the rest run. And if I do get my 1 to 10, then I walk away with an 8.5 R on my trade. All right. So that's just one thing that I'm doing in terms of management. Other than that, I try not to think about management all too much because I feel like it's easy to overmanage, right? So, I try not to be like, oh, I think the market's gonna do this, or the market looks like it's getting weaker, so I'm gonna do this. Like, I feel like when you get too deep into that mode, you start making mistakes because the market could do anything at the end of the day, regardless of how it looks. We all see markets that look, you thought it was about to get weak and then it explode, or you think it was about to drop and then it popped, and or you thought the market was moving too fast in one direction and then it reversed. So it's like there's always going to be that hesitation, and there's always going to be that sense of doubt, but always kind of remaining positive on what the possible outcome could be. I feel like is the best approach, right? um so far as GA, right, I see these relative equal lows resting here. I also see what can appear to be a strong low right here, right? So again, I'm not a fucking idiot. So I feel like this is a trap, right? Anybody that's looking too close, they're like, oh, look, this is a strong low, right? We got a low here, and then we take the low out. We got an imbalance here. So people are going to look to buy here. But all you got to do is take a quick peek to the left and realize that it's a trap. Okay. So if you look to the left and you see this bag of money, then you know that this here is a trap. This is not a real strong low. Okay. So me understanding that, I feel like GA will go bearish for a while, and then we're gonna get the reverse. Okay. So I look for GA to go bearish. And maybe this happens for London, maybe it happens for New York. I don't know. All right, we just gotta wait and see. But once we come underneath 1.278, okay, or excuse me, one, not one, excuse me, 2.078, okay, 2.078, 2.078 on GA. Underneath that level, I feel like it'll be safe to buy, right? I believe that this is a trap. It's going to induce a lot of premature buyers. And once we get this back down here, just like GU, we can expect some bullishness, right? Let's go back and look at the GU example, right? GU, clear lows right there and over to the left before we got the big bullish push, right? So GA, like I said, I'm only really looking at GA because I don't really see a lot on the other pairs right now. Like, I have some, potential moves, but nothing just confirmed. Just all right. Got earache today. That's so weird. I ain't had an earache hella long. Same thing. G Chef, I don't really trade that, but I do think it'll go bearish and then reverse kind of like GA. But if I had to trade one, I'm gonna just trade GA. So I'm not even gonna really pay too much attention to the other one. GJ, I could see GJ going bullish to start. As nice as this sell-off is, there's no heavy crossover. So I don't really see it respecting anywhere in here. I feel like that's going to also be a trap for a lot of people. Market will probably blow through this level, go grab some liquidity over here, and maybe we can start getting short up here, 199.9, or maybe we just keep making new highs altogether. But I don't really see much happening there. Right. And again, this is just being patient, guys. It's kind of like this trade set up here. And I gave this trade set up when the market was right here, right? Then it did all of this, right? It did all of this before coming back for the entry. So sometimes you gotta let the market, you know, find the entry to however it wants. It's not gonna always go the moment you want it to, right? Um, Euro JPY, this zone is still valid for me, all right? All of this is just building up, build up, weak highs, weak highs, weak highs. So I feel like we'll continue bullish depending on when we get up here, whether it's this week. If it's this week, we'll get a sell probably 173.5. All right, 173.5, maybe a little lower, like 173.3, but that's the window for me. 173.3 to 173.5. I feel like that's where we'll get our sell on Euro JPY. All right. Yes, this is being recorded. Yes. All right. So EJ and GJ, I think we'll start the week bullish. And then I think we'll finish the week, just depending on when this hits. I think we can finish the week bearish, right? But if this hits, guys, I do believe this will have a really good sell-off. I think that's something we could like target lows with, right? Just like GJ did last time. Euro NZD, I ain't really messing with that. Euro AUD, All right, so we cleared highs here. We cleared highs, then we cleared again. That's my 2-level sweep. I can see that. I can see this honestly. Let's look for 1.8111. Excuse me, 1.8116. 1.8116. I think that's solid. 812. That's a little easier to remember. Ultimately, I think we'll come back to this level. I think we probably have problems breaking above it. But that ain't really like my favorite setup out of everything that I see. Like I'll trade that if nothing else really presents itself. You're okay. Not really interested. Definitely not interested in Euro GBP. So, I mean, yeah, that's about it though, y'all. That's about it. Like I said, a lot of these pairs are moved parabolic on Friday. So we're gonna have to give it some time to reset and restructure itself, which is fine. So again, just a quick rundown one more time. I'm not buying Nas yet. In order for me to buy Nas, I'd have to, clear out this consolidation, come into this zone. We pop above the highs, we might get a sell, but we gotta understand that that's gonna be counter trend, all right? So far as GU, there's a possibility of us reacting in this imbalance, but also be aware that the market could just have a slow trickle to clear out this low right here. All right. This happens a lot when we have major news. Sometimes it's a big impulsive move that ends up being a trap for people that want to continue to buy in that direction. So again, I would not be surprised at all if we have just a real bearish week on GU and EU until we erase that initial move, right? Because if we look at this initial move, there's not really a real heavy crossover, right? And there's not like a real defined area to where you would take a re-entry, right? It's like, do you take the re-entry in the imbalance? Do you take the re-entry on this sell to buy candle? Do you take it in the just the lower part of this area? Like when you can't answer that question clearly, if you don't see that heavy crossover clearly, a lot of times the market will just keep running bearish, right? Keep running down and then erase that move completely. So keep your eyes open for that. Same thing with gold, y'all. I'm not really gonna buy it because it's extended so much. But if we come back and recapture their highs, if we go to 33.80, I may anticipate some sales taking place there. All right, Bitcoin, I'm bullish. I'm bullish on all crypto, really. I feel like the optimism of rate cuts being on the horizon, people are gonna try to get positioned in front of it. Because by the time it happens, you're too late. You want to predict this stuff before it happens. You buy the rumor and you sell the news. All right. That's just a little phrase that I want y'all to take home with you. The investor 101. You buy the rumor and you sell the news. So the rumor is that rate cuts, excuse me, are coming. So that's the rumor. It hasn't happened yet, but it's a rumor. That's what you need. That's when you need to be taking action. Because by the time the news done happened, these moves done already started, and you might be a little late. All right. GA, looking for GA. They trap this low. Early buyers get knocked out. We come and clear this out. Uh, little area of imbalance down here. Keep your eyes on that. I'm looking at really like 2074, 2075. I think that'll be a good area to look for buys. But anything under 2.078 is valid. But to be a little more accurate, we can take a look at this imbalance right here as well. All right. So, um, 2.075 would be like the ideal area, but just realize as soon as it gets under 0.78, it can go. All right. GBP US or GBP JPY. I got this getting trapped. All right, I'm not buying it. I'm looking for 200. All right, if we can hit 200, we may get a little bit of relief from up here. All right, Euro JPY. Again, not buying the sales. We got a nice build up right here, several week highs. So we get the 173.4, 173.5. I'll be looking to take some sales up there. All right. We look over to the left. We got a nice hezzy crossover. Beautiful setup. Hesitation off of demand. Crossover bearish, imbalance right above. Those are the setups that we love. So, that's what I'm looking for on Euro JPY. All right. And that's pretty much it. All right. That's pretty much it, guys. That's pretty much it. Not really looking at much else. Euro AUD possibly, but again, it's better setups, so I'm not gonna force nothing. But other than that, I think Gabe said he had a question. Talk to me. What's your question, bro? All right. If y'all ain't got no questions, I'll wrap it up. But I will open the floor for a few questions if y'all have any.
Yeah, dude. Just kind of going back to what you said at the beginning, it kind of like caught my attention. When you were talking about that NAS trade, that when you said, "Is this a good trade or am I revenge trading?" And I was just curious, like, how do you personally make that distinction? Is it just like your intent, like your energy? It's like, hey, like okay, I just got stopped out of this or whatever happened, and then you go to re-enter. How do you personally like distinguish, okay, this is a good entry that's still valid, or am I actually revenge trading?
Okay, cool, cool. And good, and thanks for remembering that question because that's one of the first things I talked about on the call. So just the fact that you held on to that question for like the past hour almost, and I appreciate you for allowing me to kind of get through my teaching. But that is a good question. I feel like it boils more down to you do your best to rely on the technicals when it comes to making that decision, right? And like you do your best, but obviously at times, you're trying to ask yourself, am I seeing something that's real or am I forcing myself to think this way? And it's a few different things that I juggle when I make that decision. It's how much am I up for the week already? If I'm up a comfortable amount, am I willing to risk a small percentage of that? If I'm down for the week, I might just take my L, because I don't want to dig myself in too deep of a hole. So it's kind of like it's a handful of different variables. So I guess you can say it's more on my energy, like how I'm feeling in a moment. But first off, I do my best to just look at it from a technical perspective. I'm never just gonna take another trade just for the sake of trying to get back at the market. Now, as much as I want to get back at the market, the technicals have to provide an opportunity for me to do so. So if I don't see the technicals aligning with my want to get back at the market, then I'll just have to walk away and accept my loss for the day. And then another question is like I try to see myself in the future. Like if the revenge trade plays out badly, how upset am I gonna be? Right. And again, that kind of goes back to what I already said. That's gonna really determine, that's really a question that is answered differently week by week based off of how much I'm already up. Am I up a comfortable amount to where if I wanted to risk a few hundred, I'm not even gonna care? Or am I already down 1,000 or two, and now I'm just gonna be digging myself in a deeper hole? So, me trying to look into the future, that question gets answered differently based off of where I am in the week. Like I might be about to end the week and I still need profit, or I might be in the front half of the week and I done already won on Monday and Tuesday, and now it's like this Wednesday and I've already off to a good start, and I don't want to erase what I've done for the week already. Sometimes, it took me multiple days to start winning. Maybe I had a break even day on Monday, a losing day on Tuesday, and now it's like Wednesday or Thursday, and I'm like, okay, I need something. Let me be a little more aggressive. Like it's literally a case by case basis. I wish I had more of a systematic approach to dealing with the emotions, but more than likely it's like it's gonna be predicated off of what I'm seeing technically. So like even with this example here, it's kind of like, if y'all remember, we took the sales as well, right? So we did take sales to start this day off, but I was under the mindset of, okay, we're gonna grab these lows right here and then potentially reverse, right? So, I entered like somewhere around here. Like as the market kept dropping, I ended up getting out probably like somewhere in here. I don't really hold my losers too long. But then it's kind of like, okay, I'm not gonna take another trade just because I lost this one. Like it depends on what's happening technically. So if I look to the left and I see, okay, we just cleared out another level, but we're still respecting, this low right here. And now, I can mark this zone off. It's like I could justifiably give myself a reason. Because now it's like now I see the zone, I see the potential entry, I even see the low where I would put my stop loss, and it makes sense, right? So now it's like it's not just my emotions wanting to get back from this loss over here. I actually have something technical that I can, lay my hat on to kind of give me a little more comfort. So, I say just lean on the technicals, bro, and just make sure you ain't, if you do take the L, it's not gonna piss you off too much financially. So I'm either gotta be up a certain amount or, maybe I'm gonna say at a certain point in the week where I just feel like I have to try to get something because I don't like to end my week without profit. As much as they say that's gonna happen as traders, and it does happen, don't get me wrong, but I feel like the longer you've been trading, you can find an opportunity regardless of what's going on in the market. And that's kind of how I approach it. If I'm having a slow start to my week and it's Thursday or Friday, I'm like, I'm leaving here with something. And I'll just, I'll have a negative week before I just have a break even week. That's just me, but that ain't everybody.
Hell yeah. Also, I did have a follow-up question to that. This is a smaller one, but if you're in multiple positions, right? Let's say you're in GU, and let's say you're someone with like $1,000 account, right? And you take an end, you take a position in GU, and let's say you're in drawdown like $20, right? So if I saw another setup on a different pair, and I decided to execute on that, would I base my risk off of my current balance or my equity?
Balance.
Okay.
Balance because the equity ain't secured yet. So it's like you could be up 200, your equity could say whatever, but that trade can reverse. You know what I mean? So if that trade reverses, then it was like the equity never existed. So I would only take an additional trade off of closed profit. I wouldn't take another trade off of possible profit unless you're gonna close that trade completely and then take the next one. But I wouldn't personally do that. There's been times where you try to start scaling in just based off of your equity, and then one trade goes left or even both of them, and now you down more than you're supposed to be. So I would base it off of close.
Right, right.
Yeah, I would base it off your balance for sure.
Okay. Thanks, bro.
For sure, for sure. Good questions though, guys. Those are intentional questions too. Those are the type of questions I like. So feel free, ask away, man. Because like I said, if not, we're gonna go ahead and call it a day. And I'll go ahead and get this uploaded for you guys. Anybody that missed, anybody that hopped on late, I do see the attendance kind of spiked in the second half of the call. So I do want to get this recorded up for you guys. But if y'all got any more questions, feel free to ask. And give y'all like another minute, come up with something. Don't get off the call confused. No such thing as a dumb question. All right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. See you in the morning, man. See you on the New York session. If you guys are calling in from the free chat or from my Telegram or anything like that, highly encourage you. Tap into Trade Genius, man, so you can trade live with us. This is just a weekly outlook, and it's Sunday. The market just opened. A lot can happen between today and tomorrow morning, and let alone Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So if you guys want to kind of have more of a day-to-day and up-to-date analysis on what's happening in the moment, I highly recommend y'all tap in, join Trade Genius. We'd love to work with you, have you guys become one of the next profitable traders, right? We had a handful of guys that I've seen go from making no money to being funded, withdrawn consistently, being able to do things, buy stuff. And it's a beautiful process when you trust the process. So if that's you and you want to kind of have that breakthrough, we'd love to have you in. You get full access. Also get a course. I feel like I don't even talk about this enough, but the course is elite, right? If I do say so myself, right? I did just upload the other mindset call with me and Gabe, but as you guys can see, you get the foundational material going over the strategy. You get all of these case studies, and this list is going to grow every single week with more trades that we take. Wall Street Wednesdays, mindset calls. So you see, guys, a lot of value here. And, I feel like this will definitely be beneficial for a lot of you guys. All right. So, little stuff like, check this one out. Fire beat.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Wallstreet Ray. So with that, again, we won't have inbound because
So going over entry models, and then you see all of these things applied in live time with the case studies, right? So it's not just a cookie cutter format, and you got to go apply it in live charts on your own. You could actually go see a live case study and see these concepts play out. You know what I mean? So that's what I love the most about the course. I feel like it's real beneficial for a lot of people. So again, we'd love to have you on. Trade live every day. Have a few other extra calls throughout the week. And you want to tap in, reach out, and get involved. But no other comments, questions, or concerns. We'll go ahead and end it there. Appreciate y'all again, man. Love y'all. See y'all on New York session in the morning. All right. Much love. Peace.